I've lost a subscriber. Oh no. Why are you not doing anything? Ah, better pray. I see it. And I can hear me. Alright, there's a slight shadow. Let's see if I can move that. That's slightly less of a shadow. It's the microphone. Aha. Okay. I should stop wittering now. Although there's only Bird of Prey here. Hey, Bird of Prey, you're definitely worth it, just for you alone. So, welcome to this live stream where we're going to watch episode 1 of the Doctor Reads the Doctor by the Doctor, season 12, which is, I believe, I called it The Stuff Which Dreams Are Made Of. So, at the moment, it's just me and Bird of Prey, or maybe one other by the look of it, I'm not sure. Hopefully this is working okay. I'm buffering at my end slightly. I'm going to start the video at 18:55, so 6:55 p.m. GMT in 5 minutes. I'll do a quick countdown. I'm going to do very old school. Lean over and manually toggle the player on my laptop. I'm contorting myself right now. That's ready to go. It'll work. We shall see. Not to set it off too early. But I will wait until another 5 minutes. Let me see if I can chat properly. Hello. And I'll do a Kapla for Better Brave. I can't spell Kapla. A lot of dead air at the moment. I can't spell Better Prey 5 apparently. Yeah. No, not 6. There's not another Better Prey. Okay. Oh, look. Look, Vavak is here too. Okay, so here I am. Moved again. I think. Bear with me 1 second. That's marginally better. Now you can see K9. Yeah, that's much better. Happy New Year, Luke. So, all ready, ready to go. So you'll need to have another window, another browser window, or another device playing the episode. I had included the episode in the original description for this live stream, but then the live stream completely screwed up, so I've lost all of the settings for it. And it seems to really slow down on my phone. I hope it's still working. Can I go back in again? That's better. Good. There we go. It's working. So 2 minutes and we'll start running the episode. And I'll respond to anything that comes up in the chat. We'll see if anything comes up in the chat. Put it on live chat. Famous advice, put it on live chat, not top chat. I may have to bring the clock up. So I'm going to come out of the chat for a second. I can see it on the screen opposite, luckily. Oh, that's easy. One more minute to go. I'll give us a countdown when we get there. Fantastic. All three of us. So, Luke and Bert and Joe, I hope you've got your copies ready to play. Five people watching, just in time. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and press play. Oh, good, I can hear it. I don't know how, if you're going to get an echo or not. This microphone's pretty good at only picking up what's close to it. I assume it's picking up me. Let's turn it up for a second. Oh yeah, it's picking up me. There's my big fat face. That pointer out of the way. Technical issues, the microphone commits suicide. Best telephone voice. It's Ella, my editor and co-star. Can you actually hear it through there? Oh, why am I typing responses when I can actually talk? Hello, Peter Quinn. Do you want to turn it up at my end?
Hard to discern through the swirling flakes filling the air around them. However, if one moved closer to the door, left most of these blue
Good to know, Peter.
it would have become noticeable that the doors were ever so slightly ajar. If one peered through this crack, one's brain might somersault at the impossible vision beyond. The space within was clearly disconnected from the space without, the former being far larger than the latter would seem to allow. This impossible space within space was also quite obviously a control room of some sort. Pristine white, with circular roundels set into the walls, and a large control center centered to the center of the room. However, there was one object in this room which did not quite seem to fit the decor. A large gunmetal grey box, perhaps the size of a large wardrobe, very industrial in appearance. It seemed to have been pushed roughly against one wall with a certain degree of haste and lack of precision, judging from its slightly askew angle. There was a door set into the front of this device, heavy duty, almost like an airlock from a space freighter, complete with pad control unit. Set at around head height
and Sharon
was a roughly half-meter square window, but that which lay beyond was entirely obscured by what looked like condensation. Rivulets of water scored jagged veins down this surface, but steam further clouded the view inside. This view was enlivened sporadically by flashes of yellow and orange, almost as if lightning were playing within the enclosure. Above the door was a peeling stenciled sign in an ancient tongue, which simply read, "Decontamination Shell." The door burst open with a rush of steam and trickling fluids, the figure of a man spilling through it to land.
Greetings, Shromore. Hello.
This figure raised his grey-haired head and gave an almost animal cry of anguish and confusion. Then, as he looked around him, his pained expression gave way to one of abject horror. "What the hell is this?" he exploded furiously and scottishly.
That was loud.
This, being the main console room, had a bizarre appearance, at least to anyone familiar with it, and yet it was also somehow familiar to anyone bizarre enough to know it. It still sported a two-tier design, gantry at a higher level where the main doors lay, with stairs leading down from there to the central area of the previously mentioned console. But this was where the similarity with the Doctor's most recent recollections ended abruptly.
Peter, we're not watching the
The
BBC.
first
Don't be
problem the
daft.
Doctor was having was just how bright everything was. Every wall, stair, and banister was a brilliant and unforgiving white. Each wall was decorated with sunken circular roundels, an aesthetic he was obviously familiar with, but not for a very long time, and not on such a scale. The main console itself was a similar mind-bending contortion of old and new in a sickening collision of style and size. Its proportions were of the imposing, looming vastness with which he was familiar, but the panels and switches were of a much flatter, less baroque, more brutalist nature. The slowly pumping central column, while vast, now had what appeared to be flat perspex sides, encasing strange rods and plates of metal and glass. It was reminiscent of some terribly hip and groovy modern art installation set into undulating motion. Clearly someone had left the motor running, even if not in gear. The Doctor could sense no signs of travel. It was from behind the imposing bulk of the main console assembly that the figure of a white-haired, elderly gentleman moved into view. He walked with an unhurried gait, arms held behind his
Naturally, I
back.
have my tea nearby.
This, the first Doctor began with an air of weary patience, is your TARDIS. Is it? The Doctor snapped back, gesturing around him. Are you sure? Even as the last words left his lips, fresh confusion, even horror, seized his features, and his hands leapt to his throat and began to feel around in alarm. The first Doctor either did not notice the Doctor's change in behaviour or chose to ignore it, electing instead to take his question at face value. Yes, well, I shall always think of it as mine, naturally, but yes, this is the TARDIS contemporaneous with you. My TARDIS is nearby. I understand your
I
confusion.
quite like my first Doctor outfit,
First Doctor paused,
even though it was a pain in the
gesturing
ass to
around
put
him,
together.
looking for all the world like a conductor receiving applause. I do hope you don't mind, but I took the liberty of redecorating a little. It was also dark, baroque, and, well, unnecessary. However, I left the layout and dimensions set in accordance with your current grandiose fetishes. The Doctor continued to clutch at his neck during this slightly condescending explanation, and indeed appeared to be utterly oblivious to it. I'm still Scottish! He cried incredulously, his eyes widened still further. And a man! He continued, almost yelling.
Definitely, yeah.
Perhaps due to his systematic bent, the first Doctor decided to deal with the questions in order. Are you Scottish? I don't recall ever being that good with accents. I must say that in the somewhat limited interactions we have had, you always sounded to me a little like that incarnation of ours with the floppy hat and the ridiculous scarf. Nonsense! The Doctor spat back. I've never sounded like that! The first Doctor shook his head in disappointment. That is an absurd statement, not worthy of us. The Doctor shook his own head in irritation, dismissing this admonishment from his earlier self with a "Pah!" The first Doctor now turned to the second question. And of course we resemble a human, but if you'd care to check your pulse, I think you'll find yourself quite Time Lord. The Doctor fixed the first Doctor with a hard stare. That is not what I
Like
meant,
Paddington Bear.
he said slowly through clenched teeth. No? No. What then? I thought I regenerated into a woman. This time it was the first Doctor's turn to show surprise. He even gave a rare single explosive laugh. Ha! How ludicrous! The Doctor looked somewhat ruffled by this response, and his tone was more than a little indignant and defensive when he responded.
Hey there.
Ludicrous! What reason would you have to say that? The first Doctor frowned and looked considerably unimpressed with his future self. Reasons, you say? Oh, let me count the ways. Firstly, I do not recall ever harbouring a desire to be anything other than who I am, sex-wise, I mean. Never once caught myself wishing Susan could call me grandmother, nor even for a moment experienced the desire to learn the art of sucking eggs. The first Doctor held up a finger to forestall an anticipated interruption from his older self. I know we change from regeneration to regeneration, but there's
Thank you,
a certain
Luke.
core which remains, no matter how far you may wish to run from it, to run from yourself, he said, pointing at the Doctor. Secondly, he continued, again,
Empty
passing off
track
the
of
Doctor's
dresses
chance
as a
to
turd
respond.
emoji.
Have you any idea
Dr.
how
Alex
difficult
dresses
it
as a
would be
fine
to
alien
achieve such a
gentleman.
sex change?
Well, one imitated Golden
Well,
Patrick Stewart, while the other imitated Emoji Movie to
sheer number
Patrick
and
Stewart.
complexity of treatments prior to transition
I
would
haven't
be
seen the
highly
Emoji Movie, but I can
disruptive
assume
to the
that
business
Patrick
of
Stewart
everyday
was
life,
less good in that, I
the
guess.
first doctor went on. It would be time-consuming, requiring many resources, and would be difficult to conceal from others if someone were to conceal both the desire and the process of such a
Shrummer, I
transformation.
quite like haggis,
Not
but
only would the transformation be
only
a little
very
unusual,
occasionally,
but
and
to
you can't eat
conceal
very
it
much of it
would put
without,
into a whole new
well,
category of
it
oddity.
fills you up pretty quickly.
Imagine, say, if some high-ranking official on Gallifrey had been conducting pre-transition procedures in secret for their
Imagine.
own peculiar reasons. What if they were then struck down in the course of their duties and regenerated in front of some hapless palace guard? Can you imagine the confusion and bewilderment on the face of this poor guard, utterly unprepared for this most atypical and difficult of regenerations? He'd be completely thrown by it.
He'd be fit to be
The doctor's
tied.
eyes narrowed as he regarded the first doctor suspiciously. That's an awfully specific example, he said slowly. Is it? The first doctor responded innocently. I'm sure it's purely hypothetical. The doctor remained unconvinced, but for the moment had nothing to add. My point is, the first doctor ploughed on, that unless you had a strong, innate desire to effect such a change, or some desperate need to conceal your identity. At these words, the doctor's eyes narrowed again. There would be absolutely no reason for you or any other Time Lord to undergo a sex change regeneration. They are anything but spontaneous after all. The doctor stared at the floor, but his eyes were elsewhere, lost in the jumbled images within his mind. But it all seemed so real, he offered softly. That Cyberman weapon blast had done a lot of damage, a more dirty weapon than usual. Not intentional, I think. It just appeared to particularly crude and archaic type. It certainly seemed to be interfering with
Thank
your
you, Peter, for the
regeneration more
haggis
than it should,
recipe.
and this no doubt extended to our minds
Oatmeal,
as well.
bowels,
But did it really seem so
marrow,
real to
ears,
you?
tongues, and various other
Asked
bits.
the first doctor.
Don't ask questions about the other bits.
I thought I was a woman. New clothes, new companions. And you explored, had adventures, new and exciting experiences? Well, not really. It was all a little prosaic. So, not like reality at all then? Our reality, I mean. We are always at the center of something challenging and unexpected, are we not? The doctor again sounded a little defensive, apart from still clinging to the dream, the imagined life he had led. Well, not always. Sometimes we have periods where not much happens, sometimes years, sometimes decades. Yes, the first doctor countered. But we don't talk about those times, do we?
Can't
Those
leave
are
out the
not
lung,
tales
no.
told in song throughout time and space, are they? But still, this life you saw, was it fun at least?
Yes, Luke, you cannot. You say nothing.
Not really.
Don't forget the snails.
So, not our reality at all then. Nothing but a fever dream. The first doctor concluded briskly. The doctor shrugged in stunned resignation, but said nothing. Then he caught sight of himself, partially reflected, in one face of the console's central column. Grey hair and craggy features, instantly recognizable and familiar. I am me! He cried, once again animated. The first doctor pursed his lips. I have to say, this regeneration of yours is particularly fond of facile, or at the very least poorly thought through statements. Who else would you be? The doctor glared at his first self once again. And you are still as irritating and pedantic as ever. You know damn well what I mean. I'm still me, my 12th body. I did not regenerate. The first doctor stared.
Yeah,
at the
I've had
doctor.
snails once, and yeah,
Yes,
they were quite
yes,
pleasant.
you did. You just didn't change your face.
They mostly tasted
I
garlic
have no idea
butter.
why you elected
It's
to keep
amazing
this
how
one.
these things can
Perhaps
naturally
it's
occur.
symbolic. Maybe you felt you had some unfinished
This
business.
must be some sort of defense mechanism in
In
the
any
wild
case,
to taste
it's
like
not
garlic
without
butter.
precedent. You've burned regenerations.
Or was
and
it the
kept
garlic
face
butter?
before. For vanity, perhaps? And it seems somewhere along the line, vanity also drove us to start lying about our age, at least in terms of numbers of regenerations. Are you the 13th, 14th, 15th? Who can say? If we go purely on looks, that seems to fit your character these days. We might as well simply go on calling you the 12th, if you like, if it makes you happy, irrespective of the
I had a
truth
stir
thereof.
fry, which I made.
The
Right.
doctor shook his head in resignation. Just tell me what happened. The first doctor inclined his head in acknowledgement of the request. With pleasure. But first, perhaps you might like to get dressed. 12th doctor looked down in horror. Why am I naked? You just got out of the shower. What did you expect?
Stephen
It's not
Fry.
like there's anything I haven't seen in the future. Your clothes are in the cleaning unit in the dressing room. I suggest you recover them before I recount events, at least those I'm privy to. With this, the first Doctor proffered a pair of Doc Marten boots to the 12th Doctor, which he snatched angrily from his earlier self, and, holding them around waist.
Oh, I thought you were referring to the naked thing.
The main console room into the corridor beyond. The first Doctor
Like in
remained
Sherlock
in the
Holmes.
vast alabaster cathedral of the control room, wandering around admiring his modest remodeling. Occasionally he would stop and frown, wondering if he should have altered more, before shaking up such fruitless indecisiveness. He noticed a slight breeze and looked up towards the main doors. He tutted to himself, then flicked a switch to fully close them.
It's very strange to me because I can see the stream where I'm dressed like I am on the video. So there's two of me, but then there's me as well, and I'm dressed like I'm like this too. There are three of us.
The first Doctor strutted slowly in the direction of the commotion. A short way from the main console.
Oh, and then I'm on the phone as well. There are four of me.
Two doors on opposite sides of the corridor. He was now dressed in a rather sharp black suit, thin lapels and collar, complete with a cream shirt, and the Doc Martens he'd received.
Yes, sure, more it must be. Garlic butter protects from vampires because when vampires can't find humans to suck blood off, they just eat snails. It's well known.
The first Doctor walked up alongside him and peered down the length of the older Doctor's arm into the space beyond. Indeed, space was the only appropriate label for this eye-wrenching vision before them. There were walls, floor, and ceiling just beyond the opening itself. Those surfaces to left and right, complete with roundels, those above and below black and features, all white, barring the shadows within the roundels themselves. But it was the shape of this space which twisted the mind and gut. In some sense, it was a little like being inside a banana being peeled. If bananas were cuboids, the banana invisible, and the peel infinite in extent in one direction, and bounded by a door at the other. In other words, utterly unlike a banana. Equally impossibly, the sides of this hyperbolic space peeled off not into inky blackness, but infinite glorious light, in spite of the impossibility of this, given its geometry and presumably finite lifespan. The 12th Doctor glanced sideways away from his outstretched finger at the
Ella
first
is correct. My forehead does reflect the lights in the shed remarkably well. I've now shifted where the lights are.
Up the interior design, particularly your bloated main console room, it struck me you might be concerned about other space issues such as storage, so I created this little locker for you. I'm sure it will come in handy, the first Doctor explained, more than a touch of mockery to his voice. Come in handy? The 12th Doctor exploded incredulously. You could store a planet in there! Oh, and much more besides, the first Doctor agreed. But then again, we'd hardly be the first time. The 12th Doctor rounded on his younger self. That's it! I wasn't sure before, but now I'm convinced. You've been looking at our future history, my history. You irresponsible young fool! Naturally, I had to see what had happened to you most recently to try and ascertain the most appropriate course of treatment. But you know me and books. Oh, I hate to put
What do you mean, the Doctor too, Peter Quinn?
I may have browsed on through one or two chapters, the first Doctor conceded airily. But you make too much of it, rest assured. How can you say such a thing? You know how dangerous it is for any being, but especially us, to know our own future. The temptations and potential harm are beyond measure. With a myriad possible do-overs, you could smash space and time into 1,000 pieces. Well, we certainly wouldn't want to risk anything like that happening, would we?
I'm here.
The first Doctor responded harshly. However, he continued swiftly, you should have no fear of that on my part, as you yourself are evidence. What do you mean? The 12th Doctor bristled. In my limited experience with any of my future selves, the first Doctor answered confidently, they always seem to have the most appalling memories. Senility, I suppose. They never seem to remember our encounters, and indeed several have openly admitted gaps in their, or should I say, my memory. The fact that you do not remember me perusing our archives should be more than enough to put your mind at rest in this regard. The first Doctor paused here, stretching a little and winced slightly. In addition...
Oh, no, I haven't, Peter Quinn. You'll have to send it to me. You can do it on Discord.
Anyway.
I'll try and bring it up.
The 12th Doctor looked far from pleased or entirely convinced, but let out a weary sigh. Fine. Well, perhaps you would do me the courtesy of explaining how I fell out of a shower, having just regenerated into a carbon copy of my former, granted young and handsome, self, before you yourself shuffle off this mortal coil, I mean. Of course, my dear fellow, but perhaps we'd be more comfortable discussing this in the main console room. I've always felt more at home there, don't you? Just as they were about to leave, the 12th Doctor's insatiable curiosity got the better of him, and he put a hand on the arm of his younger self to stay his departure. Just one more thing. How is it there is light in the distance in that room? By all the laws of physics, the furthest reaches should be a black, unknowable expanse. The first doctor chuckled. Ah, well, yes, you might think that. But you see, I ordered a matter-dominated universe, indeed just the kind of matter
Okay,
you
I'll
and
give it a go,
and
Peter.
many other species besides might survive in. In other words,
I'm
an
temporarily
atmosphere.
out of
The
sync
light
with the
comes from
chat.
a unique biome I also installed. In this case, airborne, bioluminescent, microscopic algae and other organisms. Close by, you would not notice them, but with increased distance, their cumulative effect is quite glorious, don't you think? The 12th Doctor allowed the First Doctor one curt nod of recognition. Together, the two doctors now walked back into the
Okay,
main
that
console.
doesn't help.
The 12th Doctor glared at the decontamination shower, which had been
Peter!
so unceremoniously dumped there.
I need to know
I'm
what
afraid I asked the
what are
TARDIS
you
to
on
get out of
Discord, Peter?
storage in something of a hurry. Here, let me send it back, the First Doctor said helpfully, reaching towards one of the panels on the main console. Get away from that, the 12th Doctor snapped, slapping the First Doctor's hand away. It's my TARDIS. I will put it back, he continued imperiously. His authority was undercut somewhat by the moment of confusion as he tried to get to grips with the recently rearranged controls. Then, with a satisfied nod, he flicked a switch.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
Murmured wheezes. The shower faded in and out of existence twice before vanishing for good. Now, the 12th Doctor continued, where did you move the interior chameleon circuit adjuster to? The First Doctor pointed to another panel a quarter clockwise around the console from the 12th. But I'm afraid it became damaged during the last alteration, he cautioned. The 12th Doctor strode around to examine the controls for himself. He bent and peered closely at one lever in particular. There appears to be something jammed in the selector lever, he said, glancing up accusingly. The First Doctor said nothing. The 12th Doctor resumed his examination. He looked up again more sharply. It appears to be the blade of a butter knife, or rather, the end of the blade of a butter knife. It seems to be snapped off quite forcibly. The First Doctor held up a finger. But accidentally. The 12th Doctor strode round to confront the First face to face.
Sorry, Peter, I failed.
You
He
just
wouldn't let me
can't
get
help
you.
yourself, can
Find
you?
you on.
You just have to try and reassert your old ideas, your old persona, your old aesthetic.
Distracted by
future
me for a
selves.
second.
You always have to stick your oar in. The First Doctor inclined his head very slightly in the merest of concessions. Well, I am always with you, whether in the flesh, so to speak, or not. The 12th Doctor wheeled round and took a few steps away. It looked for all the world like he might be stifling the urge to hit his younger self. The First Doctor coughed and pointed to one of the walls. Well, I did leave you that, at least. Attached via a wall mount hung the Doctor's electric guitar. The 12th Doctor gave an ostentatious
Yeah, it says
bow.
I need the 4-digit number that
How
identifies
gracious
you.
of you, was his sarcastic response. Then his visage darkened, becoming more serious. He drew himself up to his full height. Tell me what happened, he requested simply. The First Doctor began to pace slowly around the console room as he started his tale. Well, I had just stepped out onto the Antarctic tundra. My companions
Back up
all
to 6
sleeping
people
as it
again. That's
happened,
good.
when I heard another TARDIS, your TARDIS, land very close to me. You stumbled out, collapsed onto all fours, and appeared to be in the throes of regeneration.
Mine or BBC.
However, even though I lack personal experience in this area, I could tell something was wrong. This was no normal, healthy process. I walked to you. It seemed that you saw me, but I cannot be sure. At this, the 12th Doctor interrupted. I saw you. At least, I think I did. In my dreams, he said with quiet introspection. The First Doctor nodded, then continued. Then you passed out. So, not wishing to disturb or confuse my companions, I dragged you back inside your TARDIS to render what care and assistance I could. You carried me in here? The 12th Doctor asked in disbelief. I said I dragged you in here, and while this body may be on its last legs, it's still that of a Time Lord. You, of all people, should not underestimate its power. As the 12th Doctor's interruption seemed
It's
to be
fully
well,
operational,
the First
Time
Doctor
Lord.
plowed on. As I mentioned before, the blast you had received from the Cybermen seemed a particularly messy.
Yeah, Peter, that's setting a low bar.
Better
Better than
seriously
EastEnders.
disrupting the course of your regeneration. So I just called up the decontamination shower, programmed the appropriate regeneration scrubbers and filters, et voila! One new, or if you prefer, old Doctor.
There was French in there for Luc Fauvard.
The First Doctor finished with almost a flourish. Then he adopted a slight look of concern. I am sorry about the hallucinations you suffered. It was quite beyond my control. Your body's attempt to make
Ah.
sense of this disrupted, scrambled regeneration
Et voila.
and its subsequent unscrambling. But as you yourself conceded, it was all just a dream.
3.
A nightmare, it seems,
Let's give it a go.
the 12th Doctor grumbled sourly. Quite, said the First Doctor briskly. But all's well that ends well. And it seems our meeting too has run its course. My work here is done. I really should return to my TARDIS before my companions awaken. With this, the First Doctor began walking towards the stairs leading to the exit. Then he stopped, accompanied by a barely perceptible crunching sound, and turned back to the 12th Doctor. He reached inside his Edwardian jacket and withdrew a tube with a smaller tube attached, atop which sat a couple of circular parts fused together, looking for all the world like a pair of licorice all-sorts melted together on a hot summer's day. I almost forgot, he said absently. You might find this useful. I discovered it in a store cupboard while you were in the shower. The 12th Doctor looked at it with disdain, yet took it from the first to examine it more closely. This isn't mine, he said dismissively. No, First Doctor conceded. It belongs to my 3rd or 4th incarnation, I believe. I'm not sure which exactly. Nevertheless, you should not so quickly turn your nose up at gifts from the past, particularly as you seem to have lost your own.
Okay, Peter, I have now added you on Discord.
While casually wafting the sonic screwdriver in the air.
Wafty, wafty, wafty.
I have sonic shades. How terribly hip of you, the First Doctor sniffed at him. I certainly would have no idea about such things. It's not like I spent any time in the 60s, after all. The 12th Doctor scrunched his face in irritation. Whatever. Where did you put my shades? Well, I'm afraid they were lost when I dragged you back here. This statement was accompanied by another slight groaning voice.
Shroma, I agree.
Lift your foot.
The EastEnders
No,
bar
not that
basically
foot. The
needs to
other
be
foot.
a deep pit. Putting
The 12th
it on the
Doctor
ground level
rose
isn't
to
low
leave.
enough. Yeah.
As the second foot was raised, the crumbled remains of the sonic shades were revealed. Rassilon's rod! The 12th Doctor shouted, waving the sonic screwdriver.
Ah.
I guess I'll have to use this until I can find the time to upgrade. Now I believe you are leaving. Please, please don't let me stop you. The First Doctor smiled.
I can think of no
coolly.
decent way of showing
Good
this
luck and safe travels to you, my grumpy future
because I
self,
don't have the cool
he said before mounting the stairs.
software that
The doors
Anti-Track and
were
others
open
have.
as he approached, and
Let's
without
see if
ever
this
once
works.
looking back, walked out into the snow and icy wind.
Well, that's truly awful.
The 12th Doctor returned
That
his
is
attention to
Peter.
the main console,
Oh, there you go.
specifically
There
to
you
one
go.
of the
Peter in
extended
front of the
viewspots.
TARDIS.
He
Amazing.
watched as the First Doctor reached his TARDIS.
Probably couldn't hear me because the microphone's over there. That's Peter Quinn in front of the TARDIS, in case you missed that. Let's see if I can get back onto the stream in my hand.
The 12th Doctor
Oh, God.
now carelessly set the temporal and spatial coordinates at random for his own TARDIS and threw the launch order.
And
The central column began to
We're
rise
back.
and fall more quickly, lights flashing within. Before it had even completed one cycle, there
yes,
was a
Mariner's
crash,
Trench
with
is
an
our
ear-showing
expectation level.
scream as metal rending upon metal. With this, the TARDIS was thrown, twisting violently to the left, then a moment later to the
Lenny
right.
Henry's got big guns now, has he?
The 12th Doctor was
Pop
forced to
him.
grip the central console with all his might to prevent him being flung wildly around the room. One view screen showed an image which only a Time Lord could easily interpret. Although it was greatly simplified for ease of use by that most powerful of races, it was nevertheless a representation of the topology of space-time itself. And right now, it was showing the impossible. The universe had shattered. Instead of one space-time, the universe was in shards, sections of space and time broken asunder, and while still close, slowly and surely drifting apart. The point of origin of this disaster seemed to be the moment
Slowly,
of the 12th Doctor's
surely,
departure
They
from
drew
the
their
South
plans
Pole.
against us.
The First Doctor, as far as the visible visualization, seemed to be in an adjacent fragment of space-time.
I know, Peter, I was
drifting
joking.
ever farther away. As the 12th Doctor looked on in horror at this impossible vision of universal destruction, a communication screen now struggled hazily to life. Barely discernible through the snowstorm of static, the First Doctor's face swam into view. His voice was similarly distorted when it came, and he was only able to utter one sentence before the connection was lost forever. My dear Doctor, did you leave something undone? Then, the 12th Doctor was utterly alone in his TARDIS, adrift in a splinter of space and time.
There I close the book. Now, of those who are in the chat, how many of you actually seen this episode that I did before? And if you did, then you know that there's something hidden in here too. Fry and Laurie could have written better. Fry and Laurie could have written a better last season of Doctor Who. Well, yes, but then a finite number of chimps throwing their feces at a wall could probably have written a better series of Doctor Who than the last one. Thank you, Luke. Yes, space-time continuum versus space-time bolognese pasta. Exactly, Peter. That slowly descending note you hear there is where I was using a VST instrument of a Hammond organ, and it's got a thing where you can turn the motors off inside the Hammond and it just goes runs down. It's really cool sound. 1 or 2 episodes of Doctor Who. Do you mean mine or Shroma? Do you mean my Doctor Who or real Doctor Who or BBC Doctor Who? So I left a 2-minute gap at the end of this episode, and then there's this sort of teaser for the next episode, which is mostly just the Doctor depressed in his TARDIS. Well, if you're watching it with me now, you'll see it in about 10 seconds, I imagine, if my yammering has gone on for long enough. And by the way, 6 people in the chat. Well done. Thank you, you 6 people. You get yes, Peter Quinn. Hammond organ Rimmer would indeed be proud. Yeah, Rimmer gave Hammond organs a really bad name, but they are freaking awesome when they're used properly. I did leave a really big gap. There's this hidden feature in the episode. Probably going to deafen me as well. I'm pretty sure the volume level is different for that as well. Anyway, I'm not going to end the chat just yet because obviously there's still 6 of you here, and there's one more thing that I can do. I can show. Hello. Here's my. Whoa! Yeah, I thought so. I have to stop deafening myself. Oh. Whoa. There's feedback. I was inspired by Peter Capaldi wandering around the TARDIS, hammering his guitar in several episodes, or at least 2 or 3 episodes, and making a hell of a racket. And it seemed right for a depressed Doctor sitting in the dark. I've rarely turned the amp up in the shed as loud as I had for this. Radio Terrorist Aaron. Well, Shrum, I'd recommend 4th Doctor, and if you're going to watch some 4th Doctor, I'd watch the Key to Time series, which is Douglas Adams was involved heavily in that. He wrote some of it and was script editor for some of it. Luke Favak, message retracted. What did he say? Was Luke swearing at us? Thank you, Luke Favak. Anti-Tracker is live, but we don't care. We prefer you. Somebody should pop onto Anti-Tracker and tell them to come over here. When this is finished, I'll run the trailer for the next episode, and then I'll end the stream so we can go to Anti-Tracker. I did enjoy City of Death as well, where Tom Baker and Second Romana is running around Paris in a script that was largely the same as one of his Dirk Gently stories. Oh, I was so loud when I was doing this. Ah. That was loud. But that's not the end of it. What does it mean? Alright, let's see if I can run the trailer. Yeah, that's the one, surely. Yes, so this is the teaser trailer, if anyone's up with the same point I am, for the second episode in the series, which is Shattered Dreams, or entitled Shattered Dreams. So if you're watching that too, there's a bit of dialogue from me. Save the universe.
How did you get here? Who are you? Oh, you know who I am, Doctor. And it would hardly be the first time I've broken into the TARDIS. Well, it's hard to stay retired when someone breaks the universe. How dare you suggest I did this? A TARDIS can't do that. I know how to fix this. I never doubted it for a second. Hello, Clyde. Been waiting long. It was tentacle-like. It had an eerie property such that light, indeed even the eyes, seemed unable to fix properly upon it.
Saving whose city,
Its
Bedouin?
colours
Are you?
then were uncertain, sometimes seeming a glistening brown, sometimes scaly green, and at other times, brief flashes, crystalline rainbow hues.
How dare you? Yes, Luke, I have ruined the phrase "How dare you." Any city, the Doctor. Yes. Right. So now we've watched the entire first episode and the trailer for the second episode, which I can't promise will be out at the same time as the BBC's second episode, but you know, we can only hope. But it seems unlikely because my co-star is only arriving the same day that they'll be broadcasting the next episode, which is Sunday. So I will try and get episode 2 out exactly 1 week from today if I can. So on Wednesday of next week, and then if I'm quick enough, I should be able to get into sync with the BBC so I can release an episode of my season 12 in parallel with their season 12. I've already written the first 6 episodes, so or actually I'm writing the 6th episode, and I intend to have 12 episodes in my season, as opposed to the 10 the BBC seem only capable of putting out per season. So season 12 will not only features the 12th Doctor, will also have 12 episodes in it as well. Hello, Luke. Oh, somebody else. Okay, I see. So yeah, that's my plan. So we've got 1 episode down there. The second episode is recorded, but for the co-stars parts, which need to be put in, and then episodes 3, 4, and 5 are written, and 6 I've planned out and written. And to put your minds at rest, that unlike certain companies who don't bother to plan things, Lucasfilm, no names mentioned. I actually have the entire season 12 episodes arc planned out and details for almost every episode, certainly for the final episode. And there's an arc covering all 12 episodes, and there's a mini arc that covers the first half. So the first 6 episodes essentially span one arc, actually 6 into the beginning of the second half. So 6 and 7 spans the end of the half arc, and then there's the overarching arc that runs over the entire season. So yeah, this is like a whole planned season. And who'd have thought one person could do this, whereas an entire writing team sometimes can't seem to plan out something for certain companies. Anyway, that's for that. Thanks. Yes, Luke. Wow, doing more than CBS. Ours goes to 10, Dr. Alex. Mine goes to 12. Yes, forget 11. We'll go past 11 straight to 12. But I just like the symmetry of it. I mean, it's the 12th Doctor, albeit regenerated into a 13th Doctor, but still looking like the 12th Doctor. I've called it, it's the season 12 or seasoned 12. And well, why not have 12 episodes and just go all out on the whole 12 theme here? And give Peter Capaldi a chance. It's like give Peace a chance, give Peter Capaldi a chance, because there's an actor who was seriously underused by BBC and the writing team at the BBC. Anyway, I think that's a sensible place to end the stream, and I'll now hand off and I'll let you all escape over to Anti-Tracker. And thank you all for turning up. Peter Quinn, Luke Forvark, Bird of Prey 5, Schronmore. And if I missed anyone, I shouldn't really be able to miss anyone. There are only 6 people in the thing. Maybe the other one was me. And me, yes, a big thank you to me for being on my own stream. Um, anyway, thank you for all joining in, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.